Welcome to Adventures in Solitaire. Today we'll be playing through Part 3 of the STARFORGED playthrough. So, as always, as stated in the intro, we'll be continuing our playthrough of STARFORGED. This will be Part 3, and we'll see if this is the final episode in the series. Basically what I'm looking for is I'm looking for that point where we can say that we have found our background vow. And so before we get started in earnest, I think it's probably important that we do a real quick recap. It's probably been probably a couple of weeks at least since we did the last recording, so we'll go over that real quick. So to go ahead and get this started, so we can get to the gameplay here. When we last left off, we had actually made our character, singular, had made their way back to their starship alone. And if you recall, they had found out that their crew was gone, that it was actually one crew member who had, there was a crew member who had taken the shuttle down to a planet. They'd gotten some information through what I dubbed a kind of a space pen pal of sorts. As they were making their journey, they had found somebody to talk to, and they had kind of given them some information about a possible rogue settlement. And from there, the contact had stopped. Now, what happened? There were a total of 4 crew members, the one that had left on the shuttle, 2 additional, and then our crew member. So there's 2 unaccounted for. And then the other thing that we kind of were left wondering too is to why. See, our crew member was left in cryo. They woke up automatically. Nobody woke them up, and they woke up to the ship being in a powered down state. We would later find that the systems were corrupted, so they couldn't quite get all the information that they would have liked about what they needed to get. So when he had traveled down to the planet to follow after the crew member to investigate, he found out that the settlement was indeed compromised. There was some low-level influence of this dark space entity. In fact, our character was affected by it. And at that point, he decided to go ahead and head on out. But he was able to, after a brief skirmish with one of the individuals on the outskirts who happened to be working, messing around with the shuttle, he did find out that some more additional information about the crew. With that, he hightailed it back to his ship and decided that his next best point of contact, given that he is alone, doesn't know where the remaining crew is, doesn't have any information there, was to kind of try and locate this pen pal who had given this information. And that's where we are. That's where we're going to go ahead and start. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and prep my area. Oh, almost forgot. Basic housekeeping. We'll cover that as soon as I prep my area. So one of the things that we had left out was that somebody had actually pointed out, and of course we didn't need them at the time, but pointed out that I didn't mark the safe passage through the system. And we had said that we had gotten 3 on setup in the very first video, and so there they are. I'll try to bring this on up here. I've even kind of colorize it there because why not? It's immersion, it is what it is. So yeah, but anyway, we are actually located right now right here, and so I didn't do that. And the other thing that I didn't do, we didn't define the sector trouble, and I went ahead and wrote that in red down here. So basically what we've got to do is we need to figure out a destination, and we need to figure out how we're going to get there, which would really be what's called an exploration move, but which is nice because I'll probably get some experience out of that. But we need to decide where we're going to go, and we'll make that decision here in a moment. And then last but not least, just as a quick refresh, we did kind of leave a little bit on, I wouldn't say worse for wear, but we're definitely not in tip-top shape. We're rough on our supplies, we're rough on our spirit, and we're rough on our health. So we're going to go ahead and close on up here, and then we'll get started. I think what we want to go ahead and do before we start venturing out again and possibly get ourselves into trouble is to find a way to deal with these values here, our health, our spirit, and our supply. Now, spirit, at least as far as I could see in the system, and I looked all over for options, and I'm sure there's probably a path that can probably help with this outside of it, but we don't have that option right now, so I didn't dig. Health and supply are the only options. With spirit, you're really looking at getting help from someone else. Like, you're not going to get assistance from yourself, it doesn't look like. So the spirit, we're just going to be really careful with our emotional integrity here, our psyche, and just try to try to avoid anything that's going to really mess with that. So, but we can spend some time to deal with health and supply. I'm going to go ahead and make a rule here in that we are on board the ship, and when we burn our supply, we're on planet. So I feel like I'm in a place where we can attempt to recoup and recoup our supply there. And we also have our health that we need to just kind of rest a little bit, maybe spend some time. We are currently floating in space in a bit of a Lagrange, like what you might call a Lagrange point, where it's just this place of just rest, and kind of back where he had found the ship. So with that, we're going to make some rolls. So we can't sojourn because that's recovering within a community, and we can't hearten, which we just discussed in regards to our spirit. Sojourn and hearten would allow us to take care of the spirit, I believe. We're going to go ahead and attempt with the heal, I think, first. So it says, when you receive medical care, provide treatment. Now that can be on yourself. It says, mend your own wounds. I can roll iron or wits. We'll do, it says whichever is lower. That's not good. My iron's 1. All right, so we're going to roll our iron here. We do have a momentum of 4 if we want to use that for healing. Oh, yay. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit of a risky roll if we do this on our own. All right, I'm going to go ahead and say that we're going to go ahead and attempt to heal. Why not? So we'll go ahead and make our roll. Again, this is with iron. It'll give me a +1 on my d6. Looking at the dice, I have 2 matching 8s. That is so not good. That is not good at all. We got a 4 with the +1, even with my momentum. That would still be a problem. So 5, 8, and 8. Now, this is the first time that doubles have been rolled, and you really got to pay attention. That's probably that's really part of one of my weak points with doing really any gaming, but certainly I found with solo role playing is I sometimes have a hard time with doubles. I miss them quite often, but thankfully I caught that this time. Doubles can be really good or really bad. So it says that on a heal action, if we have a miss, which we did, the aid is ineffective and the situation worsens, pay the price. All right, so I'm kind of taking a look at this, and nothing really fits too well, except for the things that I think would be more obvious when healing. So if we look at the heal, it says that on a weak hit, we would have a loss of momentum 2. We would have sacrifice resources 2. So here's what I'm going to say. I am going to say that we reset our momentum and sacrifice resources. That's both options instead of choosing. And I'll do a yes or no on whether or not we're going to lose health as well. Make our situation worse. Though it is a double. Yeah. See, because pay the price is choose. But this is a really bad pay the price. So I'm just going to say we take the hit. All right. So not a good place. Our supply options are dwindled. And furthermore, I'm going to go push it further and say our choice to spend time resupplying is a no-go. I'm going to say that's just not an option. I feel like if I did that, even though I knew I was going to do it ahead of time, I feel like I would be gaming the system here. So no fun at all. All right. So with that, we need to choose where we're going to go, and we're trying to look for Rowena Beckett here. Okay, and what we know about her is she's stern. She's a leader. She's been a pen pal. She gave the crew some information here. That's really it. That's all we know about her. So when we look at our settlements here that we can get to, last port is unmapped for some reason. We might be able to find out why later. We have a location with ineffectual government in the way of Osius. We have Paxton, which is deep space settlement, large population, unyielding, so very strict rules there. And we have Eris with a much smaller population, also unyielding. Well, I think when in doubt, we just go for the largest population center with the most options. That's something my character would not like, but that's, I think, going to be the best option here. So we're going to try to find a way, a safe path, because that's what these are. These are known, safe, consistently safe paths, right? And so we're going to have to find a safe path there, right? So that's what we'll do, and we're going to do an exploration for that. The other thing that I thought it might be worth mentioning just for upkeep when you're playing, I have put some stuff here. This what I would call minor interactions, right? They're not major quest points, And really quickly, what's going to happen is this sheet's going to fill up with combat and small challenges that you have to do. And I would say that when you have your bigger ones, your ones that you know are going to take a while, I would say keep those on one sheet and then keep your other smaller stuff on another. So I'm going to get a blank sheet and I'm going to track this exploration over there. All right. I am such a dork, I swear. Trapper keeper. All right. But I like him. So I'm going to mark down that this is an expedition. Plot a safe course to Paxton. I am a little torn as to whether this should be troublesome or dangerous. There's a few things that I feel are kind of working in our favor a bit here. The first is that we are in a terminus system. The second is that the sector trouble really isn't that bad. You know, it's not like there's some devious thing going on here. So because I want to be fair, what I'm going to do is I am going to leave it to fate. Here we go. Well, thank goodness. Expedition at a level of troublesome. So we're going to go ahead with this expedition as we journey through the first part of this. We're going to stay vigilant, especially since we're running low on supplies and we're starting to hurt here. So we're going to roll our wits, and that's to our advantage. All right, we got an 8, we got a 5, we got a 4, and our wits is 3. That gives us a 7, which means it is a weak hit. All right, it says we can make a suffer move at -2 or face 2 suffer moves at -1. Or we can face a peril at the waypoint. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take 2 -1 suffer moves because I'm not interested in having some event come up that could make things even a lot more worse right now. And I'm going to go ahead and apply an oracle to figure out what's going on and to kind of get an idea of what we think the suffer may be. And I'll get right back as soon as I've done rolling that. I rolled basically 6 rolls here. And the first one was something about disease or infection or something like that. And then the second one was something about isolation and corruption. That's what it was, 13 on corruption. So basically this is what I drew out of it. His thing got worse through his treatment, right? He failed that. And then due to his isolation and this infected wound, him becoming delirious, he starts thinking about the corruption and whether or not he's still affected or it's somehow compromised him. He's really beginning concerned about this in his isolation. He's starting to think some not so healthy or normal thoughts. He's not keeping his head together as well as he should. Things are not looking so good right now. So we have yet to make any progress at all in our expedition. Sorry, wait a minute. I'm mistaken. It's a weak hit that felt like a miss. So I forgot because it says we get to mark progress. So we will mark our 3 progress. So we're going to move on. We're going to try again. We're going to see if we can continue. So far we've found some safe space. We'll continue to see if we find a good route there. All right. So we have a 4. But we once again are in a similar situation. Yeah, that's not good. So I think we're going to have to face peril is what we're going to have to do. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make some rolls real quick and we'll determine what that peril looks like as far as what the oracle gives us. Basically, we have run into something akin to pirates. These particular pirates, we're going to say have to do with the sector trouble. Newly found resource lures greedy fortune hunters to the sector. These are not so nice fortune hunters. However, basically they're trying to see see whether or not we have this resource. He ran into them on his way to kind of look at a burning star that shouldn't have been there, at least according to his charts, which obviously are not up to date. That corruption looks like it got him again. So we are going to have to do some combat here. So the very first thing we need to do is we need to determine whether or not we have control. Now, this is something we didn't talk about in combat. Combat should always, for the most part, have an objective. Okay, so we're going to put this as combat. And the only objective here is going to be escape. All right, so I went ahead and looked up pirates. They are typically of a troublesome or a dangerous level, but these are fortune hunters, not your regular pirates. So I'm allowing it to have a chance to go a little bit lower, and we got lucky again. I'm going to take that because we're about to die. So we're going to enter the fray. It says on the move is edge and caught in a trap. Now I could see either one because on the move is us running. We're going to say we're going to be on the move. I think that's more of a fair statement. So edge at a +2. All right, we got middling success here. So then we hit, we gotta choose one. It says we either take 2 momentum or we are in control. All right, so we're gonna use we're gonna go ahead and choose that we're in control. We're gonna do gain ground, and we're gonna make a roll. Now it says we're in pursuit, fleeing, or maneuvering, which we are doing. So we're using edge again. We got a 10 and we got an 8. We got a 6, and that's an 8. Oh man, great roll on my die. Horrible roll on the challenge die. So that's going to be a miss. On a miss, your foe gains the upper hand. The fight moves to a new location, or you encounter a new peril. You are in a bad spot, and you must pay the price. So we now switch back to a bad spot. Yeah, so we'll look at pay the price. So our character ends up burning supply, and the pirates, it seems that they realize that my ship is not armed. So they've taken advantage of that. That's how this ended up in a bad spot. And the suffer was a supply, the pay the price was a loss of supply. So man, we're not doing good, and now we're in a bad spot. So in a bad spot because they are closing in now, and because I cannot fire back or exchange fire, we have to react under fire. So we're really just doing gain ground in this. It's just these back and forth trying to get away. So we're gonna make that roll, and this is gonna be edge again. Speaking of edge, there goes my dice off the edge. Yet another reason for a die tray. Okay, so let's roll again. All right, we got a 10, and we got a 6, and we got a 6 here, which would be 8. With react under fire, we got a weak hit, so we're gonna have to make a suffer move, and we get to stay in a bad spot. Ugh. All right, so once again, you'll notice my sleeves have changed, and once again, my camera overheated. I think really until the winter comes, I'm learning that that may be a little bit of a problem because the area that I'm in doesn't have good ventilation. Maybe someday I can get around that, but for right now, I'm stuck with it. So at least without it affecting the audio quality. All right, so we had a weak hit on a roll, and we have to do a suffer move. Now, the only suffer move that really applies here is withstand damage. And because we are taking damage to our ship, that's what we're going to do. Now, I used some of the downtime where I could not record, and I went ahead and I made a quick sheet for tracking assets. So, for example, this side I have nothing but starship and upgrades, and this side is nothing but paths. And I'll add more sheets and keep them segregated so I don't have to fish for what asset I'm tracking for upgrades and everything else. So anyway, I went ahead and I marked off one of the damage notches on the starship because we took as a -1 suffer. Again, we're hurting pretty bad here. Really, all we can do is react under fire again. We could clash again if we had weapons, but we're not in that spot. So we definitely don't want to be clashing again because I don't want to put us in any worse situation than we're at. It's just we're already bad off with our character, and gosh knows what that could do. So I think we're just going to continue to try and react under fire here, and we are really it's not good. So, and I think I'm probably, in all honesty, I'm using a lot of these weak hit misses a lot harsher than I probably need to. But I'm really big about being honest. And that's probably a struggle I'm going to have to do, and it's a learning process of learning how to be a little bit easier on myself. But at least I guess you guys know that I'm trying to be fair. All right, so we're going to go ahead and make that roll for react under fire, and we're going to see what happens here. We got a 10, we got a 6, we got a 6, and we have another weak hit. And once again, we're going to take damage. It is a suffer move. And this is not a pay the price, this is a suffer. Okay, and I think what I may want to do is, at this point, my character, he knows that he's in a bad spot. So I think what he's going to do is, as he's been getting shot at and he's at the edge, he's just really trying to rack his brain for what to do. And so he decides he's using his wits and using his system knowledge that he's going to go ahead and he's going to try to rig the system in some way that does kind of like an electronic disruption for their sensors. It just does a quick burst to distract, to try and see if he can't possibly change course, distract them long enough that maybe he can get ahead. Obviously, he's not going to be able to perform moves like this all the time, and wits is the stronger number. You know, we're in this situation, we're going to try to get creative as a survival mechanic, and that's what he's going to do at this point. He's just getting really just hammered by this pirate. So, not good. Again, a 10, a 9, and an 8. This was a complete miss, and now we must pay the price. So we'll take a look at that. I have kind of an interesting situation here, and as I rolled through the oracle tables, a theme started coming about. What I ended up with was the following, and in this order: lose, law, created; opportunity, contested; commerce, lost. Maybe it's that the people that I'm fighting aren't who I thought they were, that they're not actually pirates, that they're law, and that basically they're kind of undercover because it's causing problems and they're trying to stop it, which absolutely makes sense. And so it just felt like it just fell into place, and so that's absolutely where I'm going to go. But because I feel like there's again, this was a miss, and there's got to be something that's not. It's not going to be a neutral. That's not what a miss is. A miss is a level of severity. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to say that when I spin out and do this thing, that instead of me getting the advantage, they get such an upper hand that I know that if I push this, they know if they push this, if they pull that trigger, it's all over. And so at this point, our ships are just kind of locked. We're going to go ahead and move on and see where we want to go from here. What I'm getting from this situation is that I did not open fire on them. They opened fire on me. Now, someone who's of the law, who catches someone out in a unsecured area, because there's no, like, FTL planned safe passage at all. There's no passage. I was trying to map it. So they obviously thought that I was up to no good. Although there is some evidence to show that I'm not a pirate. I didn't fire on them once. It was odd. And I think there may be some there, and that they didn't just blow me out of the sky. But I think that doesn't mean that I might not be a runner of some kind. So this is where we probably need to look at a conversational piece. So this would fall under one of two categories. Okay, this would fall under connection moves, but I don't really have any kind of history with this person. And I feel like that is something that you get after you've been working with someone for a while, or you've done some major favor for someone even once, but it's a big one. You might go to a connection move. So I think that's a bit too far here. So instead, I think that what we're going to do is we're going to look at either securing an advantage, compelling, or gathering information through adventure. I think I'm going to try to secure an advantage with sociability using heart. So we'll go ahead and we'll make our roll. See if we can, basically what we're doing is saying, look, I'm unarmed. I'm just trying to find my way to a settlement. I'm trying to find somebody. Okay. What we roll is not good. We roll an 8, a 4, and a 1. The 1 becomes a 3 because of our 2 of heart. We have a complete miss. On a miss, you fail or your assumptions betray you. You pay the price. So let's look at paying the price. And it says a new enemy is revealed. So let's find out a little bit about this new enemy. I have my thoughts. I'm sure you do, but we're going to roll on some conjecture and see what we come up with. Basically, what I have is, as my character was exploring, that he actually had someone tailing him shortly after he left. And the irony is that following him, and this is where the roles, the keywords went with it, so that's how I came up with it. But following him on a really ragged ship, hastily put together to track, was his own past shuttle. Obviously, that's an enemy, or it could be an enemy. You'd think, unless it's the friend, don't know. But it was patched together, so how that would work and not be an enemy, and it would end up being a friend, I don't know. But it's possible, I suppose. And it was basically running out of. It says depleted stuff. Like it had language like that in the Oracle, and so it was tailing me. And at this point, it came in on fumes. And as I'm sitting there trying to talk them down, in the background, my comm chirps, my display chirps, the enemy's display chirps, and you hear background chatter from that ship's crew, similar to, hey, we've got a contact, and then next thing we know, we've got a wide comm, but it's like an open broadcast help kind of a thing. We need help, and so from there, we need to figure out what happens. So I think what I'm going to go ahead and do is I am going to try to compel this law. We're going to try to explain to them what we think this may be, but caution them in that it could be a survivor. So compel is going to be heart, iron, lie, or swindle. So I'm not good at lying. We don't have any option for my wits. So it's really got to be, and my iron's not good either. So we're really going to have to roll on that heart. We don't want to threaten him anyway. I'm not interested in lying, swindling as my own character, nor is he good at it, nor does he like threatening. So that works out. We're going to try to charm, pacify, encourage, or barter. All right, so we got a 4, we got a 9, and we got a 3. We have a weak hit. On a weak hit as above, but their agreement comes with a demand or complication. Envision their counter offer. So on a strong hit, they do what you want or agree to your conditions. So they're going to do that with a hitch, a demand of some kind, or some sort of a counter offer. And we do get 1 momentum. So 1 momentum is guaranteed. We'll mark that down. I'm going to try a counter offer and see if it works. If it's not, I'll conjecture one. My counter offer that I'm going to give to just beyond just convincing them to check it out, and that I'll hold. Obviously, they've got the better hand. I won't go anywhere. That was the initial thing. They don't go for that entirely. They're still not buying it. I said, look, okay, if that's not enough, you can tow me. Like, obviously the ship can go on its own, but you can tow me in. You can tow them in. You can leave the shuttle. I don't care. And you can question me when we get to your protocol, or whatever that is, your port, your star base. And we're going to see if that works. If not, we're going to go ahead and we're going to roll for some conjecture to see what they come up with. Again, this is on a +2. Oh, nice. A 1. Oh, no, not nice. Oh, I saw the 1. So a 7, a 3, and a 1. I would, even with my momentum, I would still only have a 4, a 3, and a 3. So that would be a complete miss. They refuse. I'm going to say or they make a demand that costs you greatly. I'm going to say they refuse, and we're going to go with see what they offer. See what their counter is. Gosh knows what that's going to be, because I kind of offered them everything besides imprisonment for nothing. Of course, that could just be me not having an open mind about it and being a little more creative. We'll see. All right, so basically, here's where we have it. So after rolling on the oracles, what I basically come up with is they're not going to tow me in, and they're not going to take my word for it. That's not good enough. They want the upper hand here, more so than what I provided. So their offer is that they want to take my ship. They want to take custody of me. They want to take custody of this other individual who they don't know who they are either. They would have to trust what I'm saying, which they're not. As far as they're concerned, there's 2 neutrals, and this is just a really odd situation that these 2 neutrals are coming together at this spot. Almost looks like a meetup now. Not good. And that they're going to take us in, and they're going to find out where we have. There's been a rumor of basically of these newly found resources being hoarded by a pirate group, and they know that that's going to be where their prime base of operations is, and they're going to find out where we are hiding it. And they're actually not. They're opposite of convinced of what I said. That's how badly I failed that conversational piece. So we're being hauled in, and so I see that we have 2 really realistic options of where we're going to be hauled into. We're either going to be hauled into Paxton or Last Port. Now, if we look at Paxton, they have an unyielding authority, and although I didn't write it down, I need to go back and check what that was. I remember the Last Port, I kept it unconnected just because although they weren't as deviant as this settlement that we went to, they are still deviant, and that they don't want to play with the other elements of society. They kind of want to be on their own. They do trading, but whatever path is there, it would be a secretive path. which may also be where those pirates are. Who knows? But Paxton, I think, is going to be. I was going to roll, but not, as I thought about it, Paxton seems a little bit more logical to me as to a place where this undercover cop would be. And so I'm going to go ahead and collect myself for a second and get an idea of where we need to go next and what we need to write down, and we'll move from there. All right, so basically I spent some time trying to figure out what was going to happen from the point that my character was told that they were going to be taken into custody, captured, interrogated. My character is going to die pretty much if he doesn't capitulate and just give up. So I kind of rolled on some oracles to try and figure out what was going to happen, what the whole overarching close-up and wide panned out view was. And when I kind of looked from above, kind of looked at this from an outside angle, what I realized very quickly was that, look, they're taking my ship. That ship has been recording information. My character has made logs. Wouldn't have needed to, but he did. I mean, the technology is sufficient enough that they would have been able to put two and two together, probably even without my character having told them a story. If they had just been mums the word and let them be captured as a pirate and never said anything, they probably could look at the ship and then they would just be asking why he wasn't saying anything. But certainly the ship would corroborate what he was saying, along with possibly even the shuttle that they captured. So my character, having high wits and being the sleuth, having that curiosity and the deductive reasoning and being a part of a prospecting crew, he's used to investigation and being watchful and figuring things out. And so he would have been very watchful during this whole process, listening very carefully to what people were saying. Drawing conclusions, conjecture, and then just trying to learn everything he could, because he's got very little. I mean, he had what we had regarding Paxton when we created it, which wasn't much. We knew that it was an unyielding deep space settlement with the largest population in the sector. And so basically what I did is I rolled oracles to find out more. What he saw, what he witnessed, and kind of where that went from there. And so here's what he was able to find out in order, was that it is an agricultural planet. Upon going into the planet or being taken off of the ship, either way, however he saw it, he noticed beautiful architecture. He heard stories and rumors of a depleted resource. In this case, and I didn't take note of it, but in this case, this depleted resource is the fact that they were already running low on this fuel source, and this newly found resource was going to be the thing that really just opened things up. And we'll get back to that, the fact that there's this found resource and the fact that this particular planet and their settlements and others were running low. They do have a fairly limited influence in this sector despite having a large population, and that may be due to governing law and stuff. I didn't conjecture into that. They are dynastic rules, standard dynastic, and again, they have that unyielding law, so they're very much about being lawful in a good way. You can have, and what history has shown, unfortunately, a lot of times with a dynastic rule that can cause problems. But in this case, and as it has sometimes in our history, in this case, it did not. They have learned from past mistakes. But they are currently at war with this group of pirates that has been running in this area, and they've been running patrols and ops to try and track them to figure out where they're coming from and put a stop to this, because it's grinding things to a halt. And then on top of that, as my character was listening, they learned that they are buying fuel from Lastport. Lastport seems to be having fuel whenever they need it, but only as much as Paxton can afford to pay through its agriculture. And so they have this, I think uneasy would be a moderate to light way to put it, relationship with Lastport. Would have probably anyway, given Lastport's stance to everyone else. So as this progressed, they learned about my character. What I was able to conjecture off of is that they believe that the leaders of Lastport are either part of that pirate faction or they're being paid off by the pirate faction. The pirate faction itself is utilizing Lastport as kind of like a pirate safe haven. So there's this strong feeling, almost certainty, of the interaction between Lastport and the pirates, and they have wanted to get somebody, as when they're making these payments, they've been wanting to find a way to get somebody in to Lastport, and they've had attempts, they have not gone well, and in part, not in whole, and not always, it has been because of the fact that they've been able to track where that person came from somehow, some way. The unique situations they had with my character is that they're fresh out of cryo, and as far as their history is concerned with anybody, there's nothing. They're a blank slate, and forgive me if that's a little tropey, but they would like to use our character to see what they can get, see what they can find out, and with that information, either undermine, cut, or destroy that relationship between Lastport and the pirates, if that's possible, if it's even that kind of relationship, so that they can secure their independence again. So basically, it's an information espionage type deal, which my character, they're asking my character to do, which is rather interesting because my character is not great at lying, not great at being sneaky, and that's a huge risk. Having said that, this is not my character's primary goal right now. The primary goal has been, if you've been watching the series, what happened to the crew? Why was my character, why were they not woken up? Did our crew member that went down to that planet actually die or become compromised in some way? Probably. Are we sure? What about the other two crew members, and what about this individual? And so there is some more of that information we need to track. There's, at this point, I imagine my character would be allowed with some restrictions to kind of maybe. I mean, they got information from the ship and my word, but to kind of wander around and maybe collect information and stuff. So I think there's some places to go there, but that's what my character's goal has been. And as I started thinking about it, there's not going to be any real tie in his personal history to what's going on between Lastport and Paxton and his pirates group. But as of right now, his overwhelming goal, the only thing that really matters to him, is getting back in touch with the only thing that matters from his past, and that's his crew. But I think at this point, because we chose to break the rules a bit and not establish that background vow from the start, and we wanted to discover that background vow, I think that background vow has made itself obvious without forcing it and going against the flow. So our background vow at this point would be to really, what happened to the ship, or to the crew. Sorry, not to the ship and crew, to the crew. Or find friends. Now this, I don't think, would be like, I don't believe that this would be this huge, long, lifelong quest. I mean, it's certainly possible that he could end up on this chase that just lasts his entire life or his career. I don't see that being the case here. I think this would be probably a shorter background vow. Now, background vows do need to have a certain set value. And actually, it actually says that it is epic. And that's really where we're left. I have possibly a new contact in the form of our former captor, who is now willing to possibly trust. Maybe there's some additional hitches with that. Maybe he's giving this mission as a test. Maybe somebody has to go along with me. And maybe he knows that our character is not a good fighter and is not a good liar and is not very sneaky. So maybe someone has to accompany. Maybe that's even him. Wouldn't that be cool? And if we could happen to end up rolling it in that way, or be successful in some roles, which has not worked out too well for us, so I wouldn't count on that. But it definitely has taken an interesting turn where we have the prospect of a new adventure on top of our background that we started with in that adventure, which is still going and is still the main drive here, as well as a new planet to kind of poke around on. Maybe there's a chance for a side mission here or there, maybe even a side mission on the planet that we're going to, who knows. But I think at this point, and I do have a few more things to say. I'm not going to turn it into a review, but we can probably call this a good finish to the series as far as learning how these things work. There's been probably a few mistakes, minor, really. I think probably the biggest mistake, if I had to point one out that I made, would be that I think I was probably a little too hard on my character in some of these roles, with the misses in particular, and even some, maybe even the weak hits from time to time. But that's just something where I'm gonna have to learn to allow myself to not be so hard, not be so focused on just making sure that's there's no way I'm wrong about this. That kind of an attitude about making sure I'm following the rules, and I think I need to be a little more fair and lenient in some cases with myself. Anyway, so as far as just a real quick overview of my experience with this, when I first heard about IronSworn, StarForged, I found out that it was, I think it's the Savage Worlds, I think it is, it's based off of. Now, I had played Dungeon World. In fact, tried to play it a little bit with my fiance, and it's not called a move system. I forgot what it's called in this, but it uses its own version of the move system, also based off the same system, the Savage Worlds thing. But no, it's not Savage World. Sorry, it's Apocalypse World. I don't know where I got Savage Worlds. I think that's part of the. I think it's probably another offshoot of Savage Worlds. But anyway, moving on. Wow. So I really wasn't that system. I found it so hard to wrap my head around. Though I could begin to understand why it would have been good, why Dungeon World would have been good as solo. The other thing that really hit me and just really took me away from being able to enjoy this system, and honestly, when just IronSworn was out, same problem without knowing that it was used the same system that this did. Just knowing that IronSworn wasn't in this system, they weren't using traditional equipment and stats the way that I was used to from a hardcore, the standard like hardcore, I don't want to say hardcore, but standard role-playing experience, right? Your equipment was loose. It had an element in it, but it wasn't all about the loot. It was really more about the story, and while I love story, I like loot, right? I like to be able to find things. I like to be able to progress my character, and I like to have lots of options and some movement for progression, beyond just the story, especially when I'm just on my own and the story's with me. So when I started playing the IronSworn StarForged, or the draw, of course, was that it was sci-fi, and I have so few sci-fi things in my collection. I have Hostile, and I'm waiting to get the Hostile solo. So excited about that, by the way, especially with it being in that aliens esque, but theming and franchise that are not in the franchise, but it's similar to that. It's just excited, but. Other than that coming down the pipe, this is the only true solo sci-fi I have, and that's a full RPG. And so I thought I'll give it a try. We had some of the Facebook members or individuals that were getting online and making comments, and I thought, you know what, I'll do it. I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna go buy it. And I did. I spent the money, and I'm waiting on the actual book to get here. And as I started going through it, I just, the more time I spent with it, the more I was blown away. It's like I didn't even have a choice but to be drawn in, and it just shocked me. And I think, and maybe for reasons that other people might be turned away, like the sheer number of the paths that it had to offer. On top of that you can develop each individual asset, card, or just asset, if you will, up. That allowed for that freedom that I was looking for. And the equipment can be important. It absolutely can be. It's just how you look at it. It's not on tables. It's on logic-based conjecture, a lot of it. And the move system was well explained. It was well laid out. You had a set of rules, so it didn't feel too open. And it makes you think because of the difficulty. It forces you into making these really tough choices, where I think in a normal open conjecture, you don't feel that pressure too much, because as a story creator, which you really are in a way, you are a creator of a story when you're in some way. I mean, the conjecture is leading you to a degree, but when you're trying to figure your way around things, you have complete freedom. And the difficulty on this really kind of pins you down, not too much, but in just enough of a way that I really just enjoyed it. And again, I probably made it too difficult on myself, but yeah, I'm looking forward to playing this on my own. I turned it into a review, sort of, but the review I think will be a little more well thought out. But yeah, all right, rambled a ton. I would be surprised if you're still listening at this point, but if you are, again, as always, thank you so very much for watching, and if you watched this far or not, thank you. Bye-bye.